Osjećam se kao Britney Spears sa ovim mikrofonom.
Malo bliže samo.
Može. Dobar dan svima, dobrodošli na panel raspravu o umjetnoj inteligenciji. Ovaj panel će biti na engleskom jeziku, vjerujem da vam to neće biti nikakav problem. Welcome to this panel discussion. It is of course about AI or artificial intelligence. We call this panel discussion between sense and sensibility. So I will not explain right now why we chose to play with the words from the novel of Jane Austen, but you will soon find out. We have our presenters that you heard recently. I will not introduce them once again, but I want us to start because I want us to have more time for the actual discussion. So I would like to ask you something, a bit of game, if you're willing to play. So I want you to imagine in your head artificial intelligence, AI, everything that has happened in the last 2 or 3 years. And I will say a word, an emotion, and I want you to raise your hand if you identify with that emotion when you think about AI. So first word or first emotion is fear. So raise your hands, everyone, that can associate artificial intelligence with their emotion of fear. Okay, thank you. The next emotion or the next word is excitement. Good. The next word is pessimism. Okay. And the last word is optimism. Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is a great introduction for our topic, AI between sense and sensibility. So the recent leap in the development of AI technologies, especially when we look at the last 2 years with the advent of AI tools such as ChatGPT, has certainly triggered a strong emotional response, individually and collectively. And we cannot recall maybe when such a technology has created such a collective emotional outburst, maybe first industrial revolution. Yeah. So why do you think this is the case? Maybe Erik can start.
Why it's so fast? Why it's such an impact?
Yeah, why do we feel such strong, often opposing emotions as we saw, and fear and excitement? Why triggered so much emotion in people?
I think it is because there's no set boundaries to it. It's something like it starts somewhere, and as some people say, maybe we are at the beginning of a river, but we don't know how big the river will be. We have a lot of flooding now in Central Europe and different places in the world. So we don't have a clue yet how big the impact in what sort of time frame will be. And that uncertainty is creating anxiety. It's just at the one point we see examples where there's enormous opportunities and possibilities, that we see surgeries done by robots, AI that help to save lives. We see new cars without drivers coming on. There's so many things happening that are exciting and make things possible. On the other hand, do we still have a job? What is the role of human beings in this world? How do we communicate? What is real? What is not? What is a machine? What is human? So there's so many things that are uncertain, and uncertainty always creates a certain fear. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't doubtful about pessimism. I'm not pessimistic. I can't say I'm really optimistic. So I'm in between. I'm doubting what I am at this moment. And I think that goes for more people.
Yes. So
can I just add to that?
Yeah.
I mean, these are interesting things, but I think that the reaction of the humankind to the artificial intelligence has been kind of sound. I don't think it was really radical. You know what happened when the books came? What was that reaction? Imagine the reaction when the TV came on, or the radio signal went to the people's lives. So this has been like kind of, in a way, people have adapted to it. And this was a very nice show of hands. I think that there's a good sense of a good skepticism about technology. Because, and I don't know if you will agree with me, technology always kind of overpromises and then underperforms. You know, that's something that we also should know. Education does the same. But technology also does the same. You know, some of us who are older and like who were raised on the sci-fi novels and like the way that the life will be in the 2024, we imagine, like, we were expecting, you know, like a lot of things from the technology. You know, we were expecting that we will travel from Zagreb to Koprivnica, Amsterdam, or Delft, or Hague to Zagreb without any problem with our, you know, like jetpacks and all of that. None of it exists. We were promised that we won't be eating the food that we've been eating. There won't be any kind of hunger in the world, but that doesn't exist. So technology always kind of, I mean, there is always this like polarized view of it. Some of it see it as a cure for everything. Others see it as a kind of biggest threat. But the kind of the line of the technology and the use of technology in society and in a context, that's very important. And we will come back to that, is always somewhere in the middle. So I think that, you know, like if you want to kind of put kind of rational thought on it, we should be optimistically skeptical about like what any technology can do, including AI.
Yes, that's very interesting. Tomislav can add to that.
Yeah, totally agree with Boris. It is well known, this technology acceptance hype graph. So you can see what is, you know, planned to happen, and when that happened. Sometimes you have maybe 5 or 10 years until that actually happened. I think we all can agree that we are living in exciting times, and I can tell you from my own perspective. So it is a lot about uncertainty. I already told you about uncertainty, and I agree with you. So if uncertainty is present, then what a person can do? Can try to learn about how to control the uncertainty, but everything is changing so fast, you know. So you start learning something, then this thing change, then you have to start learning from the beginning. That again change, you know. It's very hard, you know, and that causes probably a fear, uncertainty. So I think this is the problem. Yeah, it's not only for people coming from technology, but also from all of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see the movie Her or not? People in the room, did you see the movie? Like the voice of Scarlett Johansson actually is now in a chat GPT, so you can really talk to your computer and Charlotte talks back to you. So the actual movie becomes real. But the thing is, in this movie is also, like you said, disappointment. This character in the movie thinks she's totally in love with him and they have a sort of a relationship with the robot. And in the end, she has like 1.5 million people, I think, that she has a relationship at that same moment, which is like, this is not the way I see a relationship. And I think actually the speed in which things are happening, I see in libraries as well, examples that are amazing with AI, that possibilities open to access materials that is amazing. At the same time, it does hardly have any time to settle down and sink in with the students because the next thing is already happening. So to keep up with technology is at this moment very difficult.
But it's also like a symbol, like, you know, like fear of or optimism versus about AI or any other digital technology at the moment is a kind of symptom of a larger, philosophically larger concept, which is basically fear of future. You know, like now we're living in times where, you know, like as I said before, you know, like it's very difficult for us to envisage optimistic scenarios of the future. Mm. It's much more kind of we are inclined to pessimistic ideas what the future will be.
Yes.
However, we are living at the times where, you know, like all around us should kind of signify that we should think optimistically about the future. We are living longer than ever before. There's much less hunger than ever before. There's much less child mortality than ever before, not just in the Western world, but all over the planet. However, we are kind of posed in the position of fear. And the position of fear is imposed on us. That's my view. And then once you impose the fear, you basically control. The fear is a means of a control. And I see the fear of technology also as a way of controlling things. And then maybe other thing is like, why should we be fearful or why should we be optimistic about the technology, which is always connected with basically economy? So if you think about AI and the sudden outburst of AI, and you'll correct me, like AI didn't happen in 2020, or large language models didn't happen then. They happened a long time before. But once they become commercialized, and then we are at a different ballpark.
One more thing, because it springs to mind. I talk too much. Sorry.
It's okay.
Me too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
That's the goal.
One more thing when it comes to innovation and when it comes to development. We've seen this with the internet. One of the first things that was paying for this and investing fortunes was pornography. We had porno in the internet. Wow, everyone applauded. It was war. We had like warcraft, inventing new weapons to kill each other. So the pessimistic outlook is not so strange, because the big money that is invested in this new technology usually comes from making people afraid, making people want more. Greed is the knife. There's a big wall in Dublin when you go to Ireland that has this image, this mural painting on it, where it says, greed is the knife. And I think greed is behind quite a few financial investments in new technology. Not only, like I said, I'm not pessimistic, not so much optimistic. It's also other stuff, but this is a reason to be at least watchful.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So I think we can all agree that having strong emotional responses to having strong emotions in general can affect our judgment of the good and bad sides of, let's say, technology like AI. But I wanted to talk about, maybe with Boris, about the role of public discourse and pop culture in that. As we see in the last 30, 40 and more years, we see in the media and also in pop culture like movies and other media that the discourse is between total utopia and total dystopia. So people are inclined to see AI as this big savior, robots will save us, or robots will definitely kill us. What do you think is the role of media and pop culture? We also see in media very sensationalized articles that really clickbait people into clicking on the article. We all know why, but it's really affecting our judgment, our reason, our sensibility.
I mean, you're completely correct, and we kind of touched already upon it. And then Erik has also mentioned one really good movie which kind of deals with that. I'll go back a little bit back in a pop culture. You know, if you think about the 80s and then even 70s, you have a different kind of vision of what the robots are, what these forces, and even like like mixture of these. Some of the movies like Alien and all of that, like they portray like very dark picture of what will be there. Then you have like, although he's not AI or a robot, like you have the ET or like a good person there, or like some other movies that show that, and we are always in between this. But that's upon our kind of nature as people. Like it's not just a sign of our times. If you go to the writings of the like 17th century, 18th century, especially like in the 19th and in the literature, you'll see this opposite views of what we are as humans. If you go back into philosophy as a kind of core of a pop culture, because that was a pop culture of that time, like we kind of see it now as a kind of pinnacle of our civilization. Then you also see the opposing views of what we are as people and how we foresee the future. There are numerous quotes, if you would go down the line, which would kind of proclaim the apocalypse coming, the technology ruining our worlds and all of that. Yet as a kind of humankind, we are progressing. We are on the path of progress. However, as I said before, like there is one big possible trap there. And that trap is basically dealing with what you here and us here are dealing with. That's basically a lack of investment of humankind into knowledge. Because, like fear of robots, like you said, fear of robots in 2024 is basically a bourgeois thing. It's a classic bourgeois. It's a upper middle class or upper class kind of fear. The working class has a fear, for example, here in Croatia or all over Europe, fear of migrants. So you have two fears, fear of robots and fear of migrants, or fear of AI and fear of migrants, because working class thinks that the people who come here will take their jobs. The middle class and upper middle class, just to give a little bit of a sociological theory there, we are fearful of the AI taking our jobs, Whereas in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, no one thought of automatization in the car industry, which took all of the jobs, or automatization in Podravka factory here, which took all of those jobs. And then we come back to what Tomislav has said, like it's our capability of adaptability to adapt to a circumstance. But in order to adapt, and that's where the trap comes. In order to adapt, you have to critically think. You have to be able to kind of connect and behave intelligently in a human intelligent way rather than the artificial or statistical way of intelligence, which basically the AI is using.
Okay.
Would you get in an airplane that is driven by AI, not a pilot? Raise a hand, would you? That's one, yeah, okay. Two, maybe. Okay.
How about a haircut? Would you go to a robot to take your haircut?
Yes.
Yes, you would.
Yes.
Huh? Okay.
I would trust the robot maybe more.
I don't know. What about it? Would you play at it?
I leave my wife to give me a haircut, so robot is better solution in my case. So I'm just kidding, of course.
I mean, these are classical examples. Like for some things we are ready to give a technology way into our lives, but for some others we are skeptical. So like although some of us would accept play as a friend, as a real friend, and have a vision of a humanoid robot like interacting with us, a lot of people will be uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
I do think that within 10 years we will be flying in airplanes without pilots. It's for sure. I mean, it's going to happen. But it's just for now, at this moment, it's still like, wow. But it is. No.
No.
No, I don't know anything about it.
No, I just wanted to say that there are a lot of ethical questions as well, So if in 10 years, if the plane crashes, who would be the guilty one? So
You will have to sign something before you get on board, for sure.
I mean, this would be also interesting because like we have some technologies that could be of use to humankind and they are developed, but they're yet, regardless of ethical, coming back to the ethical question, however, they're not commercialized enough at the moment to be widespread. So, for example, we are thinking about we have a large climate crisis, and we are still relying on fossil fuels. And there have been developments in, use of various other energy sources, which would kind of totally change the way that we use the fuels. But yet, because of the commercial, if you want, class element, we are still not giving them to the people.
Yeah.
So there's ethical ways all around. And for me, the ethical question about technology, and the right question is, why is it coming now? So who is basically benefiting it from now? And Erik has given a little bit of the answer there. It's a control, and especially in the talk you mentioned quite openly, the control of few people over the lives of ours. That's a little bit dangerous in a way of democratization of societies, and especially from the perspective of individual.
And that last thing, I have to agree with you on the bourgeois part and the gap that's growing maybe bigger or whatever, I don't know. But I do hear back that when you look at farmers, the technology to sow new crop in the ground doesn't need a farmer anymore. There's just like the mower on the lawn. There's this AI-driven thing that'll test how wet is it, how deep do I put the seed. Everything is done by machinery. So the whole field does no longer need a human being to raise a crop. I mean, and it's not happening in the cities only to the rich. It's happening in many more places already. You probably have better crop, less people hungry, maybe cheaper. I don't know, but it has its effects, everywhere.
You're completely right, but I'll just come back, a little bit in a history back. People who were like shoemakers. They were the craftsmen of. There's been a lot of them, and suddenly there comes the industry line which makes the shoes. I mean, it has been happening all throughout the history, or our history. However, what we do next, that's a real question. Where do we find the meaning, and what is this new meaning, and what is the meaning, as you said, between the interaction of human and technology, and then especially what we are also dealing with, is basically the interaction of human and nature, and then nature and technology, because that's a little bit even more complicated than just us, anthropocentric us and the technology.
Yes.
We live somewhere, and this is the planet where we live in.
So I just want to go back a little bit, but it has to do with everything that you just said. It is I think, Boris, you said it, we have to think critically. We have to think critically about the technology that is happening. And I just want to ask you, Erik, where do you see the role of libraries in fostering that critical thinking with people? Not it's a sensational new thing, you either adapt or you don't, you either lose your job. It's subtle, it's very subtle. It has a lot of layers. How do you see the role of libraries? It is there is a lot of talk about AI literacy right now, and libraries are at the forefront of information literacy for decades. So I just want to hear your perspective.
I could do like a whole day on this. My God, no, we did in the Netherlands. I organized together with a colleague a number of workshops on the ethics of AI. What should it be like? Together with partners, there were not only librarians in the room. There were also people from the other cultural fields, the media. And we came up with 7, like transparency, neutrality. But what does this mean? What does neutrality mean when you talk about AI? Robust. It has to be it has to sustain for a longer period, and not just be for 1 month or 2 months. So all those qualities and those ethics, you can put them on a paper, you can put them in an infographic, you can present them in a presentation. But what does it really mean? So the libraries are there, when I look at it, for trying to share, beside the fact that we help people ask the right questions, because we can put anything to ChatGPT, but it's very difficult to ask a real good question and get a real good result out of that question. So it's a job, and we librarians need to learn this. What are good questions? How do we help people to ask the right questions? Prompt engineers, librarians are called prompt engineers for no other reason. And there is the thing, if people, for me, the library is a philosophy. The library is in people's heads 24/7. There's a box in your brain that is called a library. And if you walk around the street and you have something that you worry about, that you think about, that you don't know the answers to, or that you look one more info, you go to the library. So you need to have someone at the library, have a source that you can be directed to at the library that will help you to determine your own feelings. So besides setting the ethics and talk about it to people, your library users, your patrons, what should the ethics be like, you also help them use AI. We're not going to use our job to AI. We're going to use our jobs to someone who is better in using AI than we are ourselves. So we need to help people to be very good at it and not to be afraid of it, but also be aware of what the risks are and what it will influence your life in the future. So the task of the library is essential for the future of technology, in my view.
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think we all agree here, right? You said it. You said it really, really well. So I just want to hand over to Tomislav. So the AI tools that we use today, like ChatGPT, are seemingly, on the first glance, very simple to use. We start them, we chat with them, they give us answers, some of which are good, some of which are not good, and so on. But the technologies behind those tools are very, very complex. And the history of AI is, as you already said, very long, from the 50s, if I'm not... Yeah. So I just want to share a bit of my experience. I have a workshop on AI for librarians. And 1/3 of this workshop is a bit of history of AI and a bit of theory behind the technologies. And people are probably rightly so, are not really happy that there is so much, theory. It's complex. It's like, show us the tools. We want to learn the tools. Give us something that's cool and free and show us things. And I just wanted to hear your opinion about that. How can we, as average people who are not computer scientists, kind of grasp this technology that is so complex? And should we?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I mean, everybody thinks that needs to know everything about AI, about technology. But why ordinary person should know about how some AI system works on low level, on the level of algorithm, of model that is trained on data? It's not necessary for that person to know everything. What is needed to know is on the application level, how to use this technology. And that's why we should trust, I would say, AI engineers, researchers to build some kind of interfaces which are representing a contact point or a communication point between the system and the user, So this point should be self-explainable, should be human-centered, should be secure, should be private. Privacy is very important for users. So everything connected to those keywords is important for end user. And in that case, the user will have this, will build the mutual understanding between the system and the user. And that will reduce the fear, the bad feelings towards the technology, the uncertainty, So this is important to have efficient, transparent interfaces. Yes. Yeah, and something very important is happening in Europe right now. So Europe is when they are defining EU calls for Horizon projects, they are using this framework to support this human-centered projects and everything else. It's not like they are going towards making profits, but towards establishing well-being, human well-being. That this is something different comparing to some other countries in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to continue this discussion in a way that we can all, as librarians, relate to. So it is obvious that some industries readily accept new technological advancements, not just AI, but others, and other industries don't. And when I say other industries, of course, I mean public sector. So my question is, why is that? I think the answer is kind of obvious, but I want to hear your opinion on that. And there are a lot of obstacles for, let's say, a library to be at the forefront of the technological advancements, and our patrons, our users are searching for those kinds of services. I mean, we cannot say that they are not, especially scientists today in libraries, university libraries especially. So what can we do to keep up? It's maybe easier for, I don't know, a tech company to embrace it and not so easy for a library.
So maybe I can start. And I think ignorance is a very important issue here. So, or maybe brainwashing from somebody. I don't want to tell you more about that, but probably making profit is very important, and somebody would like to put its own truth to society, to make more profit. So I would say we have to demystify AI technology. We have to talk about AI technology, and in that case, you will definitely lower down the level of uncertainty in everyday person. So everybody would, if know its own role in doing some job with AI technology, in that case, this person would embrace this technology, would try to clarify its own role in this. So these are all very important questions. We have to decrease this ignorance. We have to talk the right way and demystify that AI is something could be bad. I mean, could be bad, but the human being is behind making bad decisions and everything else. Yeah.
Very well put. I forgot to mention when it came to libraries, just go back one step, is that we have so much data. And data is the gold when you talk about AI. So we have it all in our treasure cove. It's all here, and we have people like Google knocking on our door saying, can we get your data? Can we get your data? And it's up to decide what we do with this. If we want to say to Google, like, okay, what are you going to do with it? Can we do it ourselves? We can claim our right to use this gold that we have in a better way. So there is that aspect as well. And use students, go to universities, involve students. In the Netherlands, we developed an app that you can talk, you can have chat with the oldest book that we have, the fish book, we call it. It's a book about ancient, it's from the 15th century, legendary sea creatures in the book. So you can basically say, where in the book can I find something about Selkie? a legend, legendary creature. And the chat will, within a second, will get back to you. Go to page this and this and this. There's this information on the selfie. And there are, students love it. They made it, but they also love it. So not going directly to big tech, but use young, bright minds to develop things for your own library or your own library system is definitely a good way to work it.
Yeah, I think that Boris will surely talk about this. We could have a whole panel about the discussion about using AI technology in the education system.
Yeah, okay, we spoke about it, but just to come back to what you said, like, I mean, like, I don't think that the public sector, I mean, our public sector should be defended. We are, like, you are public sector, and we are here public sector. Like, we work in science, in education. We are dealing with public sector that's both the heart and the brain and intelligence of this society or any society. Private enterprise is very important for every society, but that's that's a look which is narrow or narrower, and it's always interest driven. Public view is a different view, and it should always be defended. And I would not like. Not that I would not like. I don't think that it's very appropriate to see that public sector is lacking behind in the use of artificial intelligence. Public sector, in many cases, is dealing with people. We are people's organization. We are for the people, for all the people, not just those who have money. We are for all the people. You have libraries where you want a child who is from the working class or a person from a working class to come and pick up the book or use it for it's hers or his or theirs development, So that we are on a totally different kind of viewpoint from that perspective. But just to come back, how the libraries can use the AI. At the moment, we are part of the Horizon Europe project, alongside with 9 partners we are all together from 10 partners. Maybe we are not all the academic institutions, but we have the partners who are at the forefront of the mix between the youth use digital technology, arts, and science. And then we have, for example, from Netherlands, we have the partners FAH.
Yeah.
You know that? I don't know if you're from Slovenia, if someone's from Slovenia, Kersnikova Institute, or from those who know, for example, in Linz, Ars Electronica. So we are all part of that consortium. And why am I saying that? Because here we want to develop the models of use, which use technology, which use AI, but it's always used in terms of the socially relevant issue. So, use of AI and teaching the young people or older people how to use AI is one thing. The other thing is how to make libraries, spaces where AI is used in a productive manner in order to produce something, either in artistic way or socially relevant way or a personal way. And I think that's the future, the forefront of the, top class, use of digital technology, but also the social relevance and the personal relevance for that, because that's the contextual thing. And then to come back to the private versus public, no private enterprise have the interest in that. Private enterprise usually has the interest for people to use that. But in order to put that in a context which is useful for everyone in a society, that's the role of the public sector. And then that's how I see it. Maybe it's one-sided view, but I think that's the view which kind of allows the libraries to envisage a new way of doing it. And to come back to your examples, which are excellent, you've seen here the examples of libraries which are not only architecturally or in a way designed for the user, but they also provide different activities for the user. The future, in my view, future of libraries would be just that. Would be a mixture of a person going to sewing class, yeah, or a stitching class, just like in Oslo or Helsinki. That the others using how to use AI, and the third one debating about the climate change and the use of AI in order to solve that. That's how I see the future of libraries.
Totally agree. And like I said, some of the libraries have in the Netherlands, there's a queue outside when they open, hundreds of students, young people, dying to get in and to get their seat. They also always want the same seat somehow. I don't know why, but they want the same seat, and then they come in and then they spend the whole day there. And I always wonder, why don't the librarians go out there and do something with this potential? You have 300 clever people in your building, make them do something for the library. You have to have that conversation. You have to, how do you improve it? And it's already working. Some of the students develop now something that they have chairs with different lighting under the chair. So if you're studying, but you're open for a conversation, your chair will shine a green light underneath the chair. And if you're not, you want to concentrate, it has a red light. There are dozens of things that these clever people can come up with that will help you to build a better library. We have, like I showed the slide, 52 million visitors in 2022 in the library. Private companies will die for that sort of tests group that they can test their products on. I mean,
it's funny. I mean, it's a great potential, and I mean, I was really pleased to see that, and I have personal, like experience in being in those places and speaking to people how they are set up. In my view, like for example, a town of Koprivnica or a town of Kranj in Slovenia or like smaller place in UK or in Netherlands, the library should be a central point. That's why I said it's a public forum. It's one of the rare places which you can have, which you can make a public forum. Because if you think about this crisis of institutions, school is in a crisis. It's still mandated. It's still very kind of strict in a way, like for young people. For old people, like political institutions, they're not really relevant. The church is becoming less relevant. And then you have to have a new space which will be fun, which will be joyous, which will be, as I said, knowledge-driven. And that's for me a great future for libraries. But it needs a radical change. It needs a radical change.
So we don't have a lot of time left. I just want to leave you three each with the same question, which is very broad, so your imagination can run wild. So let's start with Tomislav. So how do you envision the future development and impact of AI technologies on our private and professional lives? So if you could direct an AI theme, very, very broad. So if you could direct a movie about AI that is set like 20 years in the future, what would it be like? What would you like for it to be like?
Well, I would like that AI is focused on human well-being, that we will find the way how we can live with AI. And I think we will find a way, because we can adapt the changes. From time to time we are trying to control them, but that's also okay. We will control these changes in a way, the AI will let us, but we have to be very sure about the future in a way that we should, not only develop models which are based on data. We have to be sure about this data, what represents, We have to put manners inside. We have to put idea about fair society, about everything what is good in us, In that case, we have a future. Otherwise, it would be very hard. It would be, like somebody will try to make some money, profit, and so on. So there is a fight in front of us, but I think we are ready to work on that.
That's good to hear. And Boris, your perspective
About the movie, you said also like what?
Yeah, if you could direct a movie.
Okay, that's a funny question. Okay, because the colleague here has a T-shirt. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, which is a Monty Python for those who don't know. So my movie with AI would be basically a dark Balkan comedy.
Wonderful.
And then
Sounds good.
It would be like the frustration of AI dealing with Balkan people. For example, the family. And then in my movie, it would be really like the goal would be to make AI humorous, because we speak about intelligence and then we speak artificial intelligence, all of that. The humor is always the pinnacle of intelligence, And yet, I don't know, Tomislav, do you have do you have robots which are funny? You do? Yeah, they will be. Okay, I don't think that the future of technology will be such that if they come to the humor, then we are really in a good spot, but also in a real problem. But my movie would be a dark Balkan comedy of AI dealing with a like average Croatian family using AI. So it give meta level, and like basically at the end of that movie would be that the AI kind of says like nothing can be done here. It's hopeless. I'm quitting myself, so I'm unplugging myself.
The Balkan destroys the AI. The threat is over. Part 2. Okay, great.
I cannot top this, of course. I mean, this is such a good idea. This movie is already happening. I mean,
I'm telling you.
it's here. Wow. Well, like I said, I like the opportunity that we really think very carefully about what is it to be a human being. What is the qualities that we love so much about each other, more than what we hate about each other. So I like to make a very positive movie on what it is to love someone, to care for someone, to feel what someone needs to help. And those places where these people get together, like I said, share stories. Stories are everything. There's this another movie, Australia. There's a horrible movie, and Nicole Kidman plays in it. It's 3 hours long. It's way too long. But anyway, there's one moment that they sit in a car, and she's sitting next to, what's his name? This Hugh. And he's sitting next to her, and he says, like, there's one thing that you have. It's not money. One thing you have in your life, and that's your story. And I think that shook me up. That was the only thing in the movie that shook me up. But that you have your story is so valid. It's so the reason to be alive, and you can make that story as exciting, well, maybe not as you can, but as you can try. Everybody has a movie. We all have a movie, but it's just you have to make it worth it. And I think concentrating on the human aspect and let the robot do the work for us is a very powerful thing.
It's interesting. There are various movies about like interaction between the robots and the humans. If you speak about movies, most of them are either horrors or romantic movies.
Yes.
But no comedies. No comedies. Comedy is always the most difficult to make.
Yes.
Add something. It's not like we have to think only on making better robots or better AI. We have to change. We have to think about new economy too. In this vision, we should work only maybe 3 days per week. And get the same salary. So this is a kind of vision.
There's also one more problem. Is I don't know if Tomislav tell me, like, is there a way that robots start drinking? Like here, librarians? No. Okay, no, not yet. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for this lively and interesting discussion. You can pitch your movie idea to some Hollywood producer. we will gladly watch it. And thank you everyone for being here today with us.